Hi there, welcome to the podcast series, The Role of Coaching in HR. I'm Colin Newbold, and in this series I feature the backroom stars of HR. These are people officers in medium-sized organisations who are quietly making it easier for their employers to achieve success. Now, many of them will be new to you, and in each episode I invite them to share their story and some of the challenges they've overcome in their journey so far. Now, the series is sponsored by the coaching platform findmecoaches.com, and so I also get my guests talking about what coaching they may have received, how they've used coaching in their careers, and how coaching is being deployed inside their organisation. I really hope you enjoy it. Let the episode begin. So hi everyone, in this episode I am joined by Egal Saleman. Now, Egal is head of HR in a company called Netigate. He's head of HR Nordic, so he's actually based in Stockholm, in Sweden. Welcome to you, Egal.
Thank you.
I wonder if you could make yourself known to our audience in the way that someone who knows you well, perhaps a colleague, might introduce you.
That's first of all, thanks for having me. I'm pretty excited to be here. So it's gonna be good to talk about stuff that I'm interested in, and you as well. How would a colleague introduce me? First of all, I'm a big guy, so I'm pretty sure that will be mentioned. So as a former athlete, they would probably say Egal is the big HR guy, the first thing they would say. And they would also say that he is, I'm a loyal person, and I'm a really team player, I always have the team, HR team, the company as a team, So, and a person that really is easy to work with. That is something they would probably share about me.
Okay, cool. Talking about a tall guy, big guy, I once went to a seminar, with a big seminar with this American guru guy who was like a personal development guru. His name was Louis Tice, actually, but not everybody knows him. But he was very important to me in my development. And I remember him getting up on stage, and everybody thought, crikey, he's only about 5 foot. We always, because we only ever saw him on video.
Yeah.
And the first words he said, "Yeah, I know. You thought I'd be taller." He was such a short guy. I thought, crikey. But anyway, your background's really interesting, because from everything I know about you, you were a former professional athlete, right? And now you're in HR. So how did you get into HR? What's your career path been up till now?
Good question. It's so funny because I played professional basketball for almost 12, 13 years. So 10 years in Sweden and 2 years in Italy. And it's so funny because when I look back, when I was younger, I didn't think about HR or anything. I was professional, that was the focus. But now when I look back on it, I was doing HR work in basketball because I was always the team captain. So it's funny, the similarities between the team captain and HR is that you don't have the biggest mandate as HR and team leader, team captain either. You have a coach, you have managers, and in basketball and in company settings, but you need to influence people. So that's why I did the connection afterwards. I'm like, I pretty much did a lot of this before, as a team captain. But how I started off was so funny because my mom told me a story when I was 8 years old. I was in a big setting with a bunch of kids and grown-ups. It was a feast, and the kids were talking and talking, and all the mothers and fathers trying to make them, you have to be quiet, calm down, And I'm 8 years old, and I just come in, and I'm like, somehow I made everyone be, follow along with the rules. And all the mothers was like, that guy, that boy, he's gonna be something special, So it started off early for me in the leadership role, and then afterwards, so And then I was a team captain in basketball in a youth team, and then I started playing professional. And in the beginning, you're not because you're one of the young guys. But then I eventually got the team captain role again in a professional setting, and from that, um, when I stopped playing basketball, I started studying. I finished my school in Umeå and playing at the same time, and then I went to Stockholm. That's where I started. I started as a recruiter. That's the first thing I did, recruitment. So you get to learn that, you source, you contact candidates, and then after that I got an HR generalist role. So then I did much more stuff. You do recruitment, you do the admin, you do the offboarding, onboarding, coaching, all of that. So that was more fun because recruitment is fun, but I don't want to do only recruitment. It was fun to do that from time to time. And that was also a tech company. So yeah, that is, and then I went on, and then I moved companies, and now I'm here. So that is a little bit how I got into HR from basketball, my transition.
Okay,
Mm.
fantastic. Tell me tell the audience a little bit about Netigate. What is that, the business there?
Yeah. So Netigate is we do customer service and employee experience service. So we call it CX, customer experience, and EX, employee experience. So what we do is that we collect data through survey tools, and we can help the company how to do the service. We can do the service to them, or we can also help them analyze the service. And now we did something really special as we bought a Finnish company called Lumoa, and they are experts in text analysis. So imagine that you're a company that wants to really understand your customers, and then you can ask them really open-ended questions, and they can give you you can have 100,000 answers, and we can generate insights from that. So it's pretty cool,
Mm.
pretty cool. So we want to support people in employee experience, but also customer experience.
Okay. So, given that you've had several different roles in HR, what are
Mm.
some of the challenges that you've faced along the way, and how did you overcome them?
What I noticed is that one of the biggest challenges in HR, I think for everyone, there's a bunch of them, but the one of the biggest one is if you're in a company where the CEO do not care about HR or doesn't, how do you say, value HR. And that could be shown in different ways. It could be that you don't have HR in the management team or the leadership group, the highest leadership group. That just shows, for example, you can have it under CFO or under, oh yeah, whatever. Just shows that it's not as important as the other, CTO, CFO, all the other, roles. So that is something that, because when that happens, and I've been in that situation where HR is maybe the last person to know. So you don't have any effect of decision, no impact, no input. And then they be like, Egal, why hasn't this been done? I'm like, nobody told me. I don't even know what you're talking about. And
Yeah,
then
right.
and that's not fun. It really is it's not fun. You don't feel, how can I do my job if I don't have the right information, or even the task or the goals that we want to do. So that is something that I would not recommend for people. If you want to do great HR work, it has to be valued from the management team and specifically the CEO. That's one of the big. So how do you handle that? That's a good question. For me, I switched jobs, because you
Fair
can
enough.
do a lot of good job and work without that. But if you want to do better work, because okay, so I got a situation for you, what challenges that happen. We was going to do a recruitment course on biases you have in recruitment.
Oh, yeah, like
Yeah,
unconscious bias. Yeah, I know.
exactly. So
Uh,
our team is gonna like do that together with a partner, and we're gonna do the courses, and then between the courses we do like workshops with the managers. And when I look at the list of the managers that actually done the digital courses, it's like the top people on the team. haven't done it. um you know, and that, like, how can you how can we do work when they don't care? They don't we
Right.
say that we care, but we don't do it. um you have situations where we have a recruitment process, so and it's a well thought of recruitment process. We worked on it, we have reasons why we do stuff some type of way. But then you have a top level executive that don't care. You just go, does this their own thing, and don't even do the processes. And um and then afterwards, what happens is that then they come to us. Why did you hire this person? Or why did this happen? I don't know what to tell you. You got to ask these main people. They ran over us basically. So it's hard to do a good job in a situation like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we call walking the talk, isn't it? It's so rare. I mean, it's not directly the same thing, but I remember walking into a pharmaceutical pharmaceutical company headquarters in England, and right above the reception desk was this great big plaque, and it had the words "Our Vision" on the top as a headline, and then underneath there were various, sort of rah statements, and somebody had obviously felt a bit peeved, and they'd taken one of those kind of Sharpie pens, and they've written a Y in front of it, so it read "Your Vision," and it told me that there was some unrest in that company. And the guys on reception hadn't even noticed. But somebody must have come in late at night or early in the morning and added this letter, which was quite telling.
Oh my God, that's funny.
That was in the days when I was doing sort of leadership development. I thought, I've got some work to do here.
Yep.
Well, now, that this podcast series, it's sponsored by the coaching platform findmecoaches.com. So I'd like to ask you, Egal, I mean, coaching can look like a lot of different things in organizations. How do you think about coaching?
This is first of all, I really love coaching. And one of for me is interesting because I come from basketball, so it's the coaching there is totally different, the way you talk to people in a work setting, because there is one coach, and whatever that coach says goes. It's not like, how do you feel about this player, whatever, it doesn't matter. And then the better coaches, of course, have that good dialogue. They talk to the players, but most of the coaches, they're really tough. They're like, my way or the highway, basically. So what I learned from that is what I learned from the coaching over there is that as a team captain, I noticed that as I was hanging out with my teammates, they're different ages, and I listened to them or hang out after practice. I noticed that they started following me more than sometimes my coach. And I'm like, okay, interesting. Why did that happen? And specifically, as for me, when I was younger, the leadership then was even more cutthroat. So I had managers I had captains and stuff that was born in the 70s. I'm born in the late 80s, and they had another, culture. And then when I'm being a captain for the youngers, the people younger than me, I have to balance that. I can't be too hard on them and those kind of things. Really interesting stuff. But what I learned from that is you have to listen. So you have to listen. You have to be curious. And for me, that came. How do you say? It's my personality. I'm a curious person. That's why I wanna interview you, even though I don't have a podcast. I want to know more because I'm a curious person, and that helped me. So to piggyback from that into coaching is that every time I start a new company or start in a new workplace or get to know new colleagues, I always trying to go get a coffee with people, go for a lunch with people, different people in different environments, because I want to get connection with people. I want to understand how they work. I want to understand our business. And then that also gives me the connection for then the next time I can give them advice, or I can coach them, or I can, when they have issues, so, and it's a win-win. People love to tell stuff about themselves. People love to share, and I love to learn. So it's like a win-win. And the coaching part, what I've noticed as well, that so in a lot of in the companies I worked in, I noticed that when we have those situations, my managers wants me to go talk to the to that person when we have, okay, we need some coaching here. So I've been, choosing to do that, and I'm really comfortable with that, uncomfortable. I'm so comfortable with the uncomfortability of whatever topic it is, because I try to do it from a place of empathy and care. I would not spend this time with you if I don't care to make this work. I would not. And I think people can feel that. They can feel that. So I always try to hear the whole side, and I'm quiet, maybe write down some notes. Like, just, tell me your point of view. Okay, what does that mean? Uh-huh. Okay, how does that connect to this? Try to really understand them. And then when you do that and you do these conversations so many times, you can be like, okay, but wouldn't there be a better way to handle this? What would you say? How would you want to solve it? And then, because you want them to own the change, right? You can't tell people what to do. You got to make them want to do, make them buy into the idea. If the idea comes from them, wow, then we have the best world. And coaching is also so cool because you can coach people in situations you don't even know. Like, I don't even know whatever that role is, but I can coach you. I can try to help you in a way. And I think that's the really cool part. So, long answer.
Well, your answer has actually prompted three different thoughts. I think the first one, when I talk about coaching, very often people will say, yeah, I mean, every athlete has a coach, but the point you've made is that actually coaching in athletics or sport is different from the sort of coaching we're talking about inside organizations, right? And you pointed that out very clearly, and that's such an important distinction. So well done for that. It's something I hadn't really thought about. The second thing is you've come up with something that prompted a memory for me. Another mentor of mine growing up was a guy called Jay Abraham, who's actually a marketing expert. But one of his sayings was, the secret to communication is to be interested rather than interesting, which I thought was pretty profound. And I think you've summed that up. And then the third thing was actually something that this mentor I mentioned at the beginning, a guy called Lou Tice, he said that you can be a good coach if you've kicked the ball. So I guess he was talking about a football coach, because funnily enough, his life started as a school teacher and then he became a football coach. And he said, if you want to be a good football coach, it helps if you've actually kicked the ball. You've got some credibility. He said you get even more points if you've kicked the ball and scored.
Yeah.
But he said, actually, the most points come from just being world class at coaching. And he didn't mean it in the sports coaching sense. He meant it in the sense that you talked about, which is listening, showing empathy, and so on. And in a way, you might have answered this next question, because I was going to say to you, many organizations are encouraging their managers to have more sort of coaching style conversations with their teams. Is that true for Netigate in your experience?
Yes, most definitely. Because when you are in all these different situations, and you have people from different countries, you have customers from different countries, there's going to be friction. There's going to be like, we want to do it this way. We want to do, and these are the conversations you need to have. You need to get buy-in. You need to listen. You need to understand, what's going on. So we really encourage, taking those conversations, the tough ones, the good ones, whatever. But we encourage them to do it like on the one-to-ones weekly, So, and then in the one-to-ones, you start off with like, how are you? Like never mind work, or how are you? And then they get that little rapport, more connection. And maybe we also want our managers to share, a little bit vulnerable about themselves also, like, how are you, as a manager? But that connection, and then they can do the coaching in an individual setting. and then you get the buy-in from 80% of the team, and then you can present it as in a bigger setting, and so we really want our manager to do that because also they also know their business more than HR. Like if a manager is better than a manager coaches their team than HR because they know the situation, but sometimes it's good that they have a different voice. So then we come in, so then we come in and try to support in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And you mentioned another impact of
Mhm.
making those managers more into coaches. One of them is simply that when the employee, the team member comes up with the solution themselves, their ownership of it is so much greater.
Beautiful. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful when that happens. And I'm trying to, and what I noticed also then about coaching and like leadership in general is as a manager, you need to be really secure in yourself. As I know, if you want to be a good coach, a good manager, if you're secure in yourself, and what I'm saying with that is that you can share cred. You feel safe in where you are. You can own up to mistakes, which gives you credibility. You're more human. As a coach and a manager, you want to have people that follows you. So. And I always tell this to managers because some managers are, no, I don't want to share anything. I don't want to. Okay, I'm gonna tell them. Okay, I understand. It feels vulnerable to share some stuff or own up to mistakes. But I asked them, who would you want to follow? Do you want to follow a person that is perfect, that makes everything in basketball? That means every shot, and never makes a mistake. Never like, is that attainable? No, that's not the truth. They want to follow something that they believe in, that's credible, that's human. So I tell them, I promise you have more followers when you are more vulnerable. You are more, you can own up to stuff and things like that. I had like, for example, my former manager, she my first 2 weeks, I remember she did something I never seen. I was I did a mistake. I did a mistake. So I called her. I'm like, hey, I did this mistake. And you know what she did? She was like, I did something much worse. And then we had a competition who made the worst mistake, you know. And that's super funny, but it made me safe, psychological safe. And I felt like we can solve anything as a team, whatever, bring it up. So I think that was super cool of her. And that's something I really want to bring forward to
Yeah,
other people. Mm.
that's good one. That's actually a part answer to this question, which is, what more can organizations do to embed coaching into their culture?
So one thing I also noticed is that it's hard to coach someone that doesn't want to be coached. Um, that's actually tough. It's so much easier. I noticed I have monthly one-to-ones with the managers in my part of the organization, and I noticed early on which ones that are more, open to coaching and which ones are not. It's a big difference in my job. And when we go through their month or the team and stuff like that, or their own development. So what it has to be like, first of all, it has to be, we have to have a common understanding that this is something we do as a company. Like, because I don't want the managers to only be the coaches. I would love for it to be like from everyone, feedbacking each other, coaching each other, giving each other advice. But we need to understand, we need to break it down and people feel safe and understand what does this mean. And so where are we going? We want to go here. Okay, if we want to go there, is it then we all need feedback, and everybody going to say yes, we want feedback, we want to become better, we want to become coached. Okay, if we're 10 people in the team and we only expect coaching and feedback coming from the manager, that means the manager can give you 10% each. But if we all coach each other, can you imagine how much faster we would understand what's going to happen? So you need to do like the buy-in steps all the way to make sure that people understand why we're doing this. They understand how we're going to do this and understand that this is for the betterment of the team, the betterment of you. So, and the hard part with this is you need to build this in. This doesn't happen in tomorrow, as you understand. So really think you can do that. I don't think we're there yet. I don't think I've seen a lot of companies that are there, that can, from everyone, just giving each other coaching. But that is really something that could help. Imagine that, you do something and your colleague be like, "Hey, Ega, did you think about this? Or why would you do that? Explain it. Why did you do it?" So, and then we can have a discussion instead of me waiting for the weekly one-to-one or the monthly whatever one-to-one. So I can change it directly.
I love that. I love that answer. That's very important. I remember I can't remember where I read this, but it was a study that showed that the people who often need coaching and development the most are the least likely to get it, which is sad, but I think that does apply a lot towards the top of an organization. It's for them down there, this stuff, not for us. Yeah. And you're right. I mean, that feels like a toxic organization which you want to leave, which might be what you've done in the past. But it sounds like you're in a good place now. So what kind of, you mentioned earlier on about the business that you're in is collecting feedback, and you've got this I think you said you've acquired a company that has this text analysis capability. Presumably that's AI based. Would that be right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They worked on that for 8 years, I think, with that.
Did they? Interesting
Solution. Yeah.
So I was going to ask you about AI in general. I mean, what kind of impact do you think that it's a very fast-paced, advancing world, the AI world. Well, what do you think the impact might be on leadership and employee development?
Wow, that's a good question. First of all, the first thing I'm thinking about is that the people that adopt AI, because we still have people that are the detractors or scared of it, or we have people. I'm not saying our company in general. I'm talking about Sweden. You have companies, that feel you have. I saw a study about someone that, what do you say? They said that if I use ChatGPT or AI, I would not tell my colleagues because I don't want them to think I'm less than. And then you have companies that are, they share. This is how I used AI. Do you want me to show you? This is how I did that. So there's a cultural change as well, that is a little bit lacking behind. I'm talking Sweden mostly. In some companies, when I talk to some of my friends that are not in the tech world, sometimes they feel like, no, we're scared of that, or that's how it works over there. So the people that buy in, they will be ahead 100%, because they will be more effective. If you and me are colleagues and we get the same task and I use the AI and you don't, I will do it in less time. That's the biggest thing. So that is that. And then in leadership, like if as an employer, that is the biggest thing. You need to adopt it. But in leadership, I think that you can build your own bot that can show you. You can be coached by this ChatGPT, or you can build your own ways of working. For example, I remember, if I have 10 or 20 direct reports, for example, and I can. And one thing I noticed is that when people remember stuff about you, especially a manager, like what was your dog's name and blah, they feel more connected to you. You can lead them better. So I always tell my managers, write stuff down about your team, just a little bit for yourself. So because you can't remember everyone's daughter's name and birthday, it's impossible. But write down and then look at it from time to time before you want to one. They will feel more heard and valued. But imagine if you can do all of that a little bit with AI. You can have you can do your own AI bot that you can ask questions about your team, and what would you, this week is someone's birthday, and just you will help remember a lot of stuff in a better way. You can still do it now, but you will do it much easier with AI. And then also you can do leadership development programs. You can ask advice. You can build stuff more efficient. So I think it would change a lot, but I still think it would take a little bit more time. even though the technology phase goes fast, I think that is us, the people, that are a little bit slower to adopt stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Mm.
I have to say, I joined an organization,
Mm.
their training about 3 months ago. It was called the AI Assisted Entrepreneur Sprint,
Mm.
and it was fascinating. I'm still a member actually, because even though it was a sprint, I actually stayed on because I think what they're doing is giving us access now into various other AI tools. I hadn't realized that there were at least 10,000 AI tools on the market now. Everybody talks about Chat GPT. Yeah,
Yeah.
fine. But,
Yeah.
but there's so much more coming out every week.
It's
So
crazy.
I do think it'll change, but let's keep our eye on that one.
Mm.
And this question is somewhat related to, it's my last question really. It's the one I always ask. It's the one I always end up with. If you had a sort of Harry Potter magic wand, Egal,
Mm.
what would you like to see happening in human resources and in people development in particular that isn't happening currently?
Mm. I would. That's a good question because I think we're doing a lot of stuff. Maybe I would rephrase it to something we should do more, maybe than start doing, because I think we're doing a lot of good stuff. But two things is and I've seen a lot of this, in some companies. But think about redefine ourselves, who we are, because we know that we get a lot of bad rap in some places. Maybe we should do a better job branding ourselves, what we do. Actually, people might not even know what we're doing, and then it's hard to understand us. So a little bit better branding, and also learn from other, fields. Like I've seen a lot of people started doing this work in like a product development, but in HR. So every time we have a release of a new policy or a release of a new something, or it's time for performance, is that we need to do it as a product, release it as a product. What does that mean?
Mm.
You talk to your customers, our colleagues, you talk to the managers, other colleagues, and other stakeholders to see how does this make sense, get more feedback, iterate. So, because my worst nightmare as HR is just to do HR work, just to do it. I don't want to come in a room and just be HR. Why are we doing this? Either we do because we have to by law, that everybody understand that, or we do because it brings value. So I always want to be collaborative. I don't do anything without talking to the managers. Does this make sense? Do you understand what I'm trying to get across here, and stuff like that? So better branding we need to do in HR. If I had a magic wand, so people actually understands that we try to do good. We want to do good for both the company, but also for the people. They might think that we are the bad guys, but they have no idea how many times we trying to scream to get them more salary, or scream to get them better whatever situations and resources. And then we might be looked at as a bad guy. So branding, one thing, and also think about HR more is like a product. So
Mm.
get more feedback, work with the customers. What customer wants is what we're trying to do. Where do we bring value, instead of just doing just sit in our own chamber and cook up HR things. I don't like that at all. That's not for me. Mm.
Yeah, I mean that sort of talks to me in the sense that you need to do more of a marketing approach when you launch something,
Mm.
and get people on side. That's really good. Also, you mentioned earlier on about the importance of having a seat at the top table, or at
Mm.
least a voice, so that
Mm.
strategy can include you. Do you feel you've got that where you are now?
I don't. I'm not at the top of the table. I have a manager that is at the top of the table. So for me, that is super good. You get to understand what's going on, and also in my former company as well, we had the same situation. But because when you make a decision in the management teams about here is where the company is going to go, and I've seen, if you don't have HR there, they lose that touch, that perspective, and then the manager, then they do something that are maybe not as it will look really bad sometimes. So for me, that is super super important, and we have that for now. and I'm enjoying that. You get a great connection with management team in that sense to understand what's going on, where we're going, and I can talk to my manager right away about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I've done
Mm.
about 15 of these podcasts now, and I would say about a third of them don't have that.
Mm.
The rest, two-thirds, the
Mm.
majority, do
Mm.
have a voice,
Mm.
at the strategic table. And I think the number is growing. So, but highly important. It didn't used to be the case, but it's certainly growing.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
Egal, I'll draw a line there. Thank you so much for giving us your time today and for the wisdom that you've shared there. I think it's very interesting having insights from someone who was a professional athlete now in HR. I think that's priceless, really. So yeah, you that's part of your brand for
Yeah.
sure. But thanks again for giving us time and giving us some of your thoughts.
Thank you also. Thank you for being a part of this, and you had the really good questions, and it was good topic. So I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You take care. We'll talk soon. Bye for
Take
now.
care. Bye bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that insight into my guest and their organisation and the role of coaching there. Now, the series is sponsored by the coaching platform findmecoaches.com. And if you want to find out more about how you can access our community of coaches, then I invite you to check out our website at www.findmecoaches.com. Or you can email info@findmecoaches.com. Or why not call us on +44 if you're outside the UK, and then 0203 988 6666. Thanks for watching.